have been impossible to tell the cradle-to-grave story of Lee Miller because she lived so many lives. The real truth about Lee and who she became was really when she worked for Vogue as a war correspondent and went and photographed on the front line during World War II.
It's finding a period in someone's life that tells the crux of what they're about. And for Lee, it's really those 10 years, which take us from pre-war, the kind of saturated, beautiful sunlight of the south of France and all of her artistic friends, right through to the darkness of Dachau.
It's not about the drama of Lee's life, it's about her inner life. It's about how she felt and what drove her forward and what propelled her into these sometimes terrifyingly dangerous situations. Underneath all that drama, there is this passionate story.
This happened! This really happened! Lee!
The way that we shaped it into something that felt a bit more ready for the screen was by including a conversation that Lee has with a young man about what happened to her.
Do you want the world to know about you?
Lee Miller's story is vast in its energy, in its tragedy. And any story surrounding the Second World War is traumatic.
Market and action!
Our story begins just pre-war, and we get to meet all of the characters. So Solange Diane, played by Marion Cotillard, Roland Penrose, played by Alexander Skarsgård, Noosh, played by Noémie Merlan, and just that sense of how free and happy and just gorgeous they all were, living this kind of somewhat charmed life, but certainly oblivious to the horrors of what was literally round the corner.
Hitler is on the rise, and he's already in power in Germany, but it's still a time of freedom and happiness, and just they're in a blissful state, and they're madly in love, and they're in the sun with their friends, eating and drinking and having a great time.
And then we experience Lee making this move to London. Lee, being Lee, walks into Vogue and says,
I hear you're the woman to see about a job.
Audrey with us. Yes, I am.
Doesn't get the job immediately, but does start working and photographing London in the Blitz for British Vogue.
Audrey and Lee's connection ended up giving us some of the most important images of the Second World War and photographic evidence of what had been happening.
Pay no attention to the burning building over my shoulder.
As things really heat up in Europe and the war is in full swing, Lee decides she has to go. She realizes that propaganda is working and women are literally not being told what's going on. And Lee was a truth seeker, and she was a truth teller. That was the reason she wanted to go, to out the bad guys and to tell the truth of the atrocities of the Nazi regime.
What we wanted to do was to be with her, hear her breathe, see what she's seeing, go through these events with her. She feels the dirt. We see the dirt under her fingernails. And that's what's wonderful about Kate. She's not afraid to get herself in there, to feel, like she's just gone through a battle. And we see that.
The style of her photography changed completely when she went to war, and it became this real reportage work that I think is when Lee really became herself, having the confidence to take those photographs, which were incredibly hard to take because she was standing in the face of death. But also, she taught herself to write. She'd never written before, and she didn't believe in herself initially, but through her friendship with Davy Sherman, the war correspondent from Life magazine, he gave her the confidence to believe in the words that she was capable of writing on the page.
I think it's safe to say you're getting the hang of this.
You think?
It's damn good. She was incredibly talented and an incredible writer. I mean, the prose that she wrote and the things that she wrote are really quite beautiful and poignant.
Lee returns to Paris to find her friends and find what's happened to them during the war. And she goes to the Iron Mansion where Solange had lived with Jean.
And Lee will be the witness of what happened to her group of friends and what happened to Solange, she had no idea.
Excusez-moi, madame, je cherche quelqu'un qui habite ici.
All those people who were full of life, they didn't expect to face horror like that.
Please come with me. I promise I'll take care of you. Don't make promises you can't keep.
It was deeply emotional.
When it became clear what our structure was, only then did we go in search of the images that Lee had taken that would fit those moments. And there's a very, very famous image of the Burgermeister's daughter taken by Lee Miller, where this young 15-year-old girl who looks like a Dresden doll, this Nazi child, has been forced to take her own life by her father. It's just the most devastating image. All of Lee's images are exceptional because they are so close. So for example, there's an image that Lee has taken at Dachau. Lee has jumped up into a train full of corpses, stood amongst them, and photographed the faces of the guards looking in. The horror at what had really happened and how people didn't know. That's what Lee did. So you really see people seeing the truth.
We go to Dachau and we're with Lee as she experiences it.
And go.
But then when we see the evidence of the photographs, we go to Lee's photos for real. You see how shocking it was in that camp of what she witnessed.
We knew that this is the darkest moment in our script, and that's why we decided to desaturate the colors in these sequences and make them as stark, dark, and monochromatic as we could. That was the key to achieve the look of Dachau.
We always knew that we had to have Hitler's bathroom. The 179th Regiment had already made their way in, and they were having a bit of a party.
Welcome to Hitler's humble abode.
Thanks.
We absolutely recreate the image, everything down to the dirt of Dachau on the bath mat with Lee's boots right there.
Taking a photograph of her in the bathtub really is where the whole trip through the heart of darkness of Germany comes to an apex.
They washed the dust of Dachau off in Hitler's bathtub, and that same day, Hitler and Eva Braun killed themselves in his Berlin bunker.
Lee is so determined to go there and to document what's there. And we come to realize that the fact that Davy is Jewish and the fact that this has a different impact on him, and how Lee comes to realize what that ultimately means for Davy and how she comforts him.
If you're a human being and you experience something really intense with another human being, you're bonded with them in a way. The things they went through together were things that neither of them would ever forget.
It's a story about a woman and a human being with a heart and a soul and how those things affected her. A woman who knew what women wanted to hear, who knew how to be a woman herself, to embody that femininity and that power. She was just irresistibly true to herself, and there's something unbelievably powerful about that.
Welcome to Vogue magazine.
Lee Miller, I hear you're the woman to see about a job.
We don't hire older models.
I'm not a model anymore.
モデルから20世紀を代表する報道写真家へ。
I've seen your photographic work. You're really very impressive.
彼女の情熱的で数奇な運命を描く。
It happened so slowly. We woke up one morning and Europe was at war.
Everyone's gone.
Where are my pictures?
The minister thought they may disturb people. People need to move on. Move on. Move on. This little girl in a death camp. How did she move on?
We don't send women to combat.
Well, that's a problem because I'm here.
彼女はなぜ第二次世界大戦の最前線で撮り続けたのか。リー・ミラー、彼女の瞳が映す世界。